What's up, Phil? Just you and me so far, man.
Is it just us? I guess so, huh? I saw that your flip's pending. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So cool.
It's very good. I'm excited
Was
about
that
that.
for the high offer that you guys you I thought a couple weeks ago that you said that there was like two levels. You were going to do like a your the high one which would give you like 60 or 70,000 profit, or then there was
hmm
like a little one like that was a little bit lower.
Yeah, we were either gonna list it at 489 or 479, and we ended up listing it at 479,
Okay.
and it worked out. We
Great.
got the
Yeah.
full price
First day,
cash
right?
close in like 8 or 9 days. So
Done.
you know what they
Next.
say:
Yeah. Yeah.
bird in the hand's better than two in the bush.
That's right. That is right. Dang,
So
that's
that,
awesome, dude.
yeah, excited about that.
For sure.
But yeah, so that's been really good. Hopefully we're gonna get that closed on March 1st, so that'll be cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of like at an interesting decision-making point right now for my wife and I. 'Cause we have uh our house out in California.
Right.
We've June 30th we will have been out of it for 2 years, right? Our tenants have been there for 2 years. And so we have only another year to sell it, if we want to walk away with, without getting taxed, right? And there's probably about the tax event would probably be on about 300 or so on that. Um, so it's like, I don't want to pay that tax bill. Uh, and so we're struggling to figure out what to do on that one. Because we've refinanced it a couple times. If we sold it, we'd probably have about 175, 180 in our pocket if we sold it because we refinanced it. Um, but on the other hand, it's like, well, that doesn't like seem that great, I guess. It's like that's not that can't do shit with 170 grand today. And so I'm like,
Depends on what you're looking for.
it depends on what you're looking for. Yeah. So we're kind of like really not sure. It feels not good. Like I enjoy buying things and I've never
Yeah.
sold anything, and it feels not good to sell something. So I'm a little scared about it.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely interesting. A lot of people say, and I've said this before, definitely, like I regret selling property for sure.
yeah,
But
totally.
if I didn't sell those properties, I wouldn't be on to the next thing that I was, because I had the cash. And so
That's 100%.
it's, if you're in, I think if you're in a place where you're comfortable financially and you don't have to make moves, then just leave it because it'll be fine. But also,
Right.
could you, like, if you move because you have 175 grand sitting in a bank account essentially
Yeah.
with that
Right.
property. So if it can grow faster somewhere else, then it's dumb to keep it. You know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly right. That's the whole deal. It's like how to what do we do basically?
Yeah.
So one of the interesting things too that I just learned when talking to my CPA, and I had no idea, but because we were thinking about like, hey, if we sell that one, right, and then we could sell that one, and then we could sell our cabin, we could sell this one that we're in right now, and just like compile all that money and then do like a custom build, right? do like and then be our own GC and like go down that road and see if we can. There seems to be more opportunity there to kind of grow some equity, right? But the interesting thing about that is the tax code is written in a way to where if I sell, like let's say I sell my house in California this year, I have to wait 2 years before I sell another primary. Like I can't sell. I can't
So
sell.
say that again. Why do you think that?
Well, because the qualifying event is, and it says it on the IRS's website, and my CPA was saying it and stuff like that. But basically, you have to wait 2 years between selling primary residences. Like if you take an exclusion on one primary residence where you don't have to pay the capital gains.
Oh, yeah. If you take the exemption, yeah.
Yeah, right. And so
Yeah.
like the idea would be like sell that one and sell this one, both of which technically we've lived in as our primary for 2 in the last 5 years, but
Got it.
can't do that without waiting 2 years, which I had no idea about.
Yeah. So
that's
the
kind
way,
of like interesting.
yeah, absolutely. I think I might have said this story before. I don't know if you were there, but the way that I got around that for myself was you could probably do this too. It's very easy, but there's a particular case study that I found because my accountant told me that I couldn't do that either. I was in a very similar situation. I was going to sell a primary, and he said you can't do that without a qualifying event, which is like having twins, moving jobs, some family disaster like your spouse passes away, something like that.
Wow, having twins is included.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, because I guess they figure that you can
hardship, right?
Well, you can plan on having one kid, like you can do that on purpose, but you don't know if it's going to be twins or not.
Okay, yeah, fair.
I actually think adoption is one of them too, which is interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
But that being said, I of course didn't believe my accountant, so I went and did a bunch of research, and I found on the IRS website there was a case study that went through, just reading some of their case law, that a family didn't have to pay capital gains tax, and the IRS judged in their favor. A family didn't have to pay tax because they found their neighborhood was dangerous for their kids. And the way that they proved that was there was some criminal activity and, reported police reports and that sort of thing in their neighborhood. And so for me at the time, I was fortunate to have a neighbor who was a parolee.
Oh,
which is public record.
Yeah, totally.
And so I told him, his name was Larry. He was a great dude. Like he watched our 6-month-old several times, we trusted him and everything. But I told him, like, dude, gonna use your status here to save us about 70 grand. So it worked out.
And so was that because you sold 2 primary residences within, like, was it the same situation, or was it just?
It was almost the same situation. It was just a situation where I was selling my primary residence and I was going to have capital gains tax.
Because it was less than 2 years or something like that?
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, cool.
But
wow, that's awesome.
Dang. Yeah, but because of that, I was just able to report, nope, I had a neighbor that was a parolee and we wanted to move because we had a young kid.
Wow, dang, that's cool.
So that being said,
good job researching that. Shoot.
Well, this is a strategy for anyone. Have you ever looked at the sex offender list for your city?
No.
I would almost guarantee there's someone on your street that has that's a sex offender.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And you could say, like you have kids, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I mean that's like the easiest way to come up with a qualifying event.
Really good.
Yeah. And just say, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. We need to move, or we're moving, and this is why we're not going to pay taxes because there's a sex offender that lives 6 doors down, and my kids are old enough they bicycle around, and
that is all true. I guess other than I don't know about how far down the street. I guess we'll find. There's got to be one around here somewhere.
Yeah, I was surprised. The last place that I lived, 2 of my 3 neighbors were sex offenders.
What? That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yep, just up the road. There's a couple of them.
I'm an AI assistant helping Austin Cone take notes.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just me or not, but the link that you sent me through email doesn't work. For this meeting, so I'm just surmising whether that's why there's not any other people here or not. I don't know if you're getting any messages on that or not, but
I don't know. Mine's set up through my calendar. I just clicked that one and it worked.
Sorry, guys. I didn't hear any of that because my computer was talking to me and I don't know how to turn it off.
I was just letting you know that the link that I got in my email didn't work for this. I went through school.
Oh, really? So that's probably why no one's on?
Right.
Good point there, Mr. Rick. Thanks. You're the one that that pointed that out last time, I think.
Yep.
27 unread mails.
My gosh, I do not know how to turn my this voice thing off. So let's see. Well, maybe everyone's moved on with their day. How did you get here, Phil?
I have a link in my calendar and I just clicked that, like a Zoom link in my calendar. I just clicked that one and seems to work okay for me.
Let's see. I think
I don't even know if I get the emails anymore. Do I get emails still?
When I did it last time, I even went in and actually physically put in the password and the meeting link and all that stuff, and it still wouldn't pull up. And like I said, the only way on here is through the school link.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which it could just be on my end, but that also might explain why there isn't anybody else in the group.
No, that's definitely why. Because this last week what I did is I had two Zoom links and I changed the Zoom link and it created a new event and I thought that I sent that out to everybody. And I think that obviously didn't work, which is fine. It's too bad, but it's fine. That's okay. We'll get that figured out afterwards. We can just have a little tight powwow here for 20, 30 minutes. If I can figure out how to get the screen reader to be turned off. So anyway, Phil, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
If I were you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just found a couple and there's 5 within a mile of my house, which is probably, that would work probably.
Yeah, if you let's see. I'm gonna see if I can find that. I want to see if I can find that case study.
Yeah. Some rough looking dudes.
Oh yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, so it would be considered an unforeseen circumstance. Now, that one might be difficult, depends on when they moved there, because if they said
28 unread mails.
This guy got one in June of last year.
Predator. There you go. Yeah, Predator.
Yeah.
Ugh. So I didn't mean to open that book for you, but it could.
I mean, they're far enough away, but it's
save you some money.
Right. That's interesting.
So there's non-specific events that, so it says additional dependents arising out of marriage or other events. Oh, that's interesting. So if you get married with someone to someone who has kids, that that counts. Environmental factors that detrimentally affect the quality of living in a particular locale. So that's what that one qualifies under. Job-related circumstances. So
like interesting. Like if you get fired and have to like go get a job somewhere else or something, then
yeah,
maybe that you don't have to pay taxes on that.
Yeah, no, that's correct. And it has
Wow.
to be, let me see if I can find it.
I believe it's 50 miles.
Yeah, it says at least 50 miles farther from the residence sold or exchanged than the former place of employment. If there was no former place of employment, the distance between the qualified individual's new place of employment and the residence sold or exchanged must be at least 50 miles. So, but yeah, under the non-specific events, wow, there's a lot for family except for having one child. So blended family in schools, a second child,
Shelby Paget has joined
and
the meeting.
a home office. Hey, what's up, Shelby? I think we messed something up, so I'm glad you found out how to get here.
You made it.
A large blended family, pregnancy, and the end of relationships. An unmarried man and a woman jointly purchase a house. 7 months later, a woman discovered that she's pregnant by the man, and they no longer want to be in a relationship. They plan to sell the house and find separate residences. And they don't have to pay taxes.
Interesting. There's a lot there. That's on IRS's website.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's one. So IRS also has granted taxpayers relief under 121C. So check that out. 121C. In instances where crime or acts of violence or even noise detracts from the taxpayer's ability to maintain a satisfactory quality of living in a particular location. Assaults and threat. A couple moved to a new state and purchased a new house because of a new job. They became aware of criminal activities in the neighborhood after a neighbor assaulted one of them, and their son was assaulted and threatened. The taxpayer sold the house and purchased another home.
Wow.
Yeah. So let me send. I'm gonna copy this.
Yeah.
Then find a particular. Yeah, I'm a super nerd, dude. I'll go.
I love it.
I was reading these. I was reading these tax case law. I was like, whoa, yeah, dude, I could.
Oh. Doing a little nighttime reading. IRS tax case laws.
Are those 1030? Have you guys heard of 1033s? Not
No, I haven't.
1031s.
I haven't heard of
I got a
that.
client with a 1033.
What is that?
And
What's that?
it's basically it operates similar to 1031, but I guess you can operate off of like a primary property based on a forced, like a life event reason to move or something. I'm not quite sure. I haven't read into it.
Interesting.
But, yeah, she mentioned, I was like, you mean 1031? She's like, no, it's a 1033. You got to look it up. And I was like, okay. I was going to look that up today, but I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of one of those.
Involuntary conversions.
Yeah, what's it say?
It says, general rule, if property as a result of its destruction in whole or part, theft, seizure, or requisition, or condemnation, or threat or imminence thereof. What is compulsorily or involuntarily converted? Into
maybe like eminent domain, like city taking property.
Right. Okay.
Eminent domain would be a different thing. That would be a different thing.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's been sitting. She doesn't have to pay taxes on it. It's some sort of transfer, and she can use it to buy a primary somehow. I don't get how
Interesting.
that all works.
Maybe if it's in like a hardcore flood zone or something, or wildfire area, or
maybe a wildfire. It's in California.
Oh, is she in the hills?
Yeah.
That's for sure. I'm sure that's probably what it is. She probably can't pay taxes on it anymore because it's freaking crazy to get wildfire insurance.
Okay, I submitted. I put a link in the chat.
Oh yeah.
This link is to a. I don't even know what you call this, but it's a document put up by the IRS, and they're just referring to a particular case. It tells you the facts of the case. This one in particular, a daughter was getting assaulted, had verbal abuse and sexual assault on the school bus from other kids,
Mm,
and they decided to sell the house.
mm.
And section, let's see, yeah, it talks about section 121A, 121B, and 121C.
Mhm.
So this ruling is
Interesting.
directed only to the taxpayers requesting it.
Hmm.
It says it provides that it may not be used or cited as precedents, but mine did.
Right. Interesting. The thing is, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst case scenario for us here to sell this one and pay taxes on it, because I think technically the gain of it is like our actual gain, where we had a lot of equity in it, but our gain on it's probably only 100 or so.
Sure.
Because it's been pretty brief. But I would still
mean,
rather
still,
not.
that's, that's
I'd
20
still- it's
grand,
like, yeah, 15, 20 grand.
15 or 20 grand,
Yeah.
depending on, yeah.
Yeah. So would rather not.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into that 1033 though.
Yeah, I got it pulled up here. I don't know what this is. I'm curious about it. But Shelby, you're I was, I follow you on Instagram, obviously, and we've talked a couple times, and you have that CPA that you work with. Is he like a really, really good, like, can he offer like real estate like advice as it comes,
Like
in
which types of
relation to, like,
properties?
taxes and like bonus depreciation, and like, because we have,
Yeah.
I was telling Carter, we're kind of at a crossroads right now. We have to, we basically have a year and a few months to sell our house in California if we do want to sell it,
Mhm.
and not pay, because it was our primary, right? Not pay
Yeah.
gains on it. But it's like, if we sell it, it's like, we probably got like 170, 180 grand, right, coming, which,
Yeah.
because we've refinanced it a couple times, which is questionably worth it. In my opinion, it's like, that's like not like a ton of money really, so it's
Yeah.
like maybe better just keep it. So I don't know. I'm just,
Yeah, he does like quarterly strategy calls. So like I'll sit down with him for an hour and he'll be like, all right, what are your goals this year? What's your financial picture today? What do your assets look like? And then he'll tell me which types of properties to evaluate. And he'll even tell me like some areas. He'll tell me what other people are doing in different situations. And then he'll give me like estimated breakdowns of the pros and cons from a tax and income perspective as to which of those make most sense. So he's full-fledged, like, he advises me on kind of where to put my money, in addition to why those tax codes like sound motivating, I guess. But yeah, give him a
Interesting.
call,
yeah.
and he charges quite a bit, but it's worthwhile. I think I spend like between 9 and 10 grand a year on his services on a quarterly basis, but saves me, hundreds of thousands typically if I follow his rules. This year I kind of tried to do my own thing and it didn't work out. It cost me a lot of money, but if I would have followed his plan, it would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I should have started earlier, which is why I got into the whole situation at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's partly my fault, starting a little too late, but
Interesting. Cool. I'll give him a call. Thanks.
yeah. And we might be getting it past the House, but it still needs to pass the Senate, I guess. But for 100% bonus depreciation coming back, because right now we're at 60% technically as it sunsets, but there sounds promising that they're passing it back through at 100. So that'll open up. I think it'll open up floodgates from the investor world again for people going to pursuing properties again at a higher rate.
Yeah, I think it's got a good chance of coming back. That would be really, really, really nice.
Yeah, they need something. The economy is suffering.
Right on, dudes. Okay. Sorry. This didn't work out the way it was supposed to, but that's all right. We there's 6 of us here. Hey Christian, it take you a while to find the link.
No, sorry, I was just too late. I had something else I had to finish up.
Okay, well that's no problem. Just wanted to make sure. We were having trouble getting people here because a lot of people didn't have the right they didn't have the right link apparently. Which
Okay.
is, it is what it is. So, but we were just talking about in the United States, there's a couple ways to get around whenever you sell a primary residence to get around paying capital gains tax, and we found a pretty good way to help Phil, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so.
Oh,
Thank
like
you.
besides living in it for 2 years out of the last 5.
Right.
Yeah, there's one thing that I discovered because I've been thinking about just like selling everything. And I currently have right now, I have 2 homes which I have lived in for 2 out of the last 5 years. But I wasn't aware that you can only sell one of those homes. Like, for example, I have a house in California and a house here in Florida, both of which I've lived in for 2 of the last 5 years. But if I sold the California house today, by the tax code, I would have to wait 2 years before I could claim that exemption on this house as well.
Oh,
So there's a yeah. So I had no idea about that. I thought I could just sell both of them and call it good, 500 on
Oh.
each. But it's not the case. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Is there a way to put them in to like a trust or something collectively as one asset, or no?
I'm not that I'm not too versed on that.
I think over a CPA, a trust attorney might be more helpful. And I have a good guy, he could talk about that stuff to evade taxes too. I think there's some other options too, how you package them, but
Okay.
maybe.
I think that would
That's a good
be.
thought.
I think that would be. First, I want to say we're not doing anything to tell you how to evade taxes. We're coming up with tax burden mitigation strategies.
Partner with.
Yeah, I know. Shelby said that, and I was like, "Don't give this meeting to anybody
Not
else."
that
about
word.
tax evasion.
Well, I was just thinking if you put them in the trust or something, the proceeds, and you can borrow against your trust funds or something, not necessarily pulling direct.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, no,
curious
that's a good
if
thought.
I'm curious if you would have to use those funds in a 1031 manner.
If it's in a trust.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know how that works. But just like Shelby mentioned, a good attorney. So,
Yeah.
you guys want to hear an interesting story about attorneys? This is good.
Yeah.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone done a lot of double closing? If I do it right today, I'm double closing on a house.
Yeah.
Do I need to wire the money or not? Or does that all just go into the double closing?
How do you mean? Explain it more.
So I'm buying a house, right, for $40,000. I'm selling it for $49,000 today,
Yeah.
double
Yeah.
closing.
Yeah.
So my partner said I don't need to wire anything, but it really depends on state or something, I think. So basically, whatever the end buyer who I'm going to sell it to is going to wire the 49,000, and then they're going to take a 40 out of that, pay the seller, and then I'm going to get the difference. But I mean, I don't have to wire my initial purchase of the 40.
Right. From my understanding, that's incorrect. And the reason I say that is there is a period of time where you own it. And because it depends on how you set up the transaction, but it's A, B, C. If you have it A to B to C, instead of you, because some people you can set up a transaction where it goes A to C, right? You can set it up where it goes straight to them. If you set it up that way, then no, you don't need to wire money. But if it goes A to B to C, then for them to be able to buy it from you, you have to own it, and for you to own it, you have to pay for it.
Yeah. But when I own it, right, like if it is a double closing, like even though I guess they do the recording of it, and as soon as the first recording is done, they just send in and do the next recording.
Right.
But if let's say there's no money involved, I wouldn't have to wire anything, even though it's ABC. Right? Let's say somebody is like giving me a house for free, and I just giving it like So I don't really know if, well, my partner just said like, well, I don't think we have to wire it, and this is Missouri, so maybe not, maybe not. I'm just curious if anyone has.
I have a
experience with
friend. I think it's a bit of a gray area, Christian. I have a friend who flips land. He sells a lot of land, and he doesn't have like the money to buy all the land always, and so he works with people called independent escrow agents, but he works it in 2 states, right? He does it one in California, and it took him a while to find this person, but then another one in Washington, and this, like, I think technically speaking, from what I understand, you are supposed to wire the money to then purchase it and own it, right? I think that's what you said, right, Carter?
Yeah.
And like that's technically the way that it should be done, but there are agents out there that are like, look, as long as the money comes in and it just sits in an account, like it's totally fine, right? So
Yeah,
it
because now
is
he just told me like the end buyer for the 49,000, he already wired the money.
right. So the
Mhm.
money's there. You're gonna get a $9,000 chunk or whatever, but I
Yeah.
think technically, if you're gonna cross all your T's and dot your I's, I think technically it's supposed to be transferred, but like I don't know. That's up to I think that's up to like
Yeah.
the operator basically.
Here,
right?
here,
Yeah.
here's another thing: is worst case scenario, you send them 40 grand and they don't need it for anything, and they send it back, and you spent $25 on a wire transfer fee.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah, I was just curious. So basically, none of us really know what's the real way to do it, and is it different from state to state?
probably, but again, I know that they will not record a property and in any state. They will not record a property as changing hands if there is a contract attached to it that says money has to be delivered. And I've never heard of an independent escrow agent kind of fudging accounts, you know, like that, like you were talking
Yeah,
about, Phil.
yeah.
Yeah, it seemed a little sketchy when he was
It
talking about
is.
it. I was
It
like,
is
that's
sketchy.
kind of I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know,
not-
you know.
That's not, so,
But he's kind of a sketchy guy too, so you know, not surprising.
Oh, so here I'm gonna put this in the chat. This is actually right now the title company said this.
There you go. Look at that. Yeah, see,
Yep.
B to C when the B
Yep.
to C is closed. So the way you had it set up is A to B and then B to C. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I have to wire the money.
You need 40
for the
grand.
First one. Well,
that
I actually just
asking us?
wired. This is crap because I'm actually supposed to wire it now, but I'm waiting on one wire to complete from one of my businesses to another business, and it's not settled yet, so I don't have the money right now to wire to the type because it's kind of like in limbo. God
I'll
damn it,
wire you. I'll
because
wire you
I
40
forgot
grand
about
for
the
a.
bank.
I said I'll wire 40 grand for a $3,000 fee for the day.
Yeah, no, thanks. I'm not gonna give you $3,000 for that.
I think that's called a gator method, right?
That's right.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Hey, you just need it for a couple hours. I have a buddy a couple years ago. He did a land entitlement deal, and it was very similar to what you have set up, Christian.
Yeah.
And he was set to make about I think he was set to make like 470,000 or something like that on this entitlement deal, but he didn't have the money and he couldn't figure out where to get it. And about 4 or 5 days from the close, he actually went to his buyer and said, "Hey, this is how I have this set up. I actually don't have the money." And so his buyer funded the gap for an additional like 70 grand off. And so he didn't make 470. He ended up making 407. And the end buyer is the one that funded him, which was kind of funny. But he's like, dude, it worked out
Crazy.
perfect because, you know, they sent
Yeah.
$1 million over for a day, and I paid him a $70,000, fee, and I still made 400 grand, and it was fine.
Damn,
So-
that's awesome.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can get creative.
Yeah. Oh, crazy.
Yep.
But that's a lot of money just for like one day.
Yeah,
70,000. Wow.
That's better than losing the deal, that's what would have happened
Yeah.
in his case. So yeah, that's good. But to go back to the attorneys, my story with the attorneys. So I have this property in Oklahoma. You guys probably heard me talk about it before. It was my very first investment. I bought it for 15 grand. Put like $12,000 into it or something like that to fix it up. And then I ended up having to tear it down with bulldozers. Because all that happened, there was no house anymore, but I still had a mortgage, right?
Mhm.
And because I still had a mortgage and I was not receiving rent or anything like that, I just felt bad. I felt like I could be a good guy. And so I called the bank and I said, hey, there's no house there anymore. I just want to let you guys know, like we have a mortgage on a house, but there's no house. And they said, oh, that sucks. Well, you have to pay us everything up front. I was like, no, that's not what I was trying to do here.
Oh, man.
I was trying to be a good guy, like I didn't come to your door to shoot myself in the foot.
Yeah.
So I ended up working out a deal with them where they were going to let me keep my payments, which was like $350 a month for the next 5 years at 5%, which is what the rate that I had. So that was great.
Mhm.
I put $2,000 in that account because it's an out-of-state bank account. So I put $2,000 in that account to make those payments over the next several months. And instead of using those funds to make those payments, they took it as a principal pay down.
Oh, man.
And so the first month of our new deal, I missed the payment because they took that $2,000 and just applied it towards principal. And then I had $0 in that account. I didn't know this, of course, because they didn't tell me.
Right.
And we didn't discuss it or agree on it. Anyway, so then they sued me for whatever, 20 grand, 21 grand, something like that. And I went back and forth with their attorney. I had a deal made up where I was going to pay 15 grand for like a $21,000 debt. I was going to pay 15 grand, which paid all my debt off. They were going to clear me, and it paid the $2,500 attorney fee, all in that 15 grand. At the time, I only had like 13 grand to give them from other things. And this was just like in December. And I was like, okay, I have like $13,700 I can give you and still cover all my other, however many properties. And they said, that's fine. You can pay us the rest in March. I said, okay, so when do I pay you? And this was like December 20th. And they came back and said, this was like December 10th. And they came back like a week later and said, you have to pay us by December 24th, right before Christmas. And I was like, you guys suck. Why would you do that? And of course, nobody was in the office for the time, like whenever I got the email and everything. So I got back to them on like the 29th or something when they were in office, 28th or 29th. And I said, okay, I can send over this amount. And they were like, nope, we're going to let the courts handle it at this point. I was like, frick. So I missed that deal.
Wow. These guys are rough.
Oh, dude, they were super rough. And so I missed that deal, and then went back to negotiations, mediation, I guess, and tried to get the same payments and the same terms that I had previously, $350 a month for the rest of the debt at 5%. They said, sure, yeah, we can do that. So they sent the paperwork over, and they had 21% interest instead of 5% interest on there. And I emailed him back and I said, this is not the deal that I had. And then that's what, he threw his hands up again. He was like, okay, forget it. We're just done. So they ended up scheduling the court date for February 8th. And then of course I got the piece of mail that says my court date is February 8th on like February 14th. So I missed the court date, and it was judged against me, of course, because I had zero representation. And so I'm going through that right now, just trying to figure out, what do I owe you? What do you need me to pay you for you to go away? And I just got the email this morning, and it's like $20,800 something bucks. But so I'm out another $6,000 or whatever, when I should have just taken the deal and moved money from other places. So I hate learning lessons like that.
Yeah. Interesting. Dang.
I had never dealt with an attorney for anything like this before, and even though I was highly communicative, every single phone call I answered, every email I answered in the same day, all that stuff. I was very cordial going back and forth with this gentleman, even though I had all that, all those things going for me. Attorneys, their end is the one that gets to decide when they stop negotiating and just take it to the court, which I wasn't aware, or I hadn't even thought that was a consideration. I thought that, if we both came to an impasse, that the conversation would end and then it would go to court like that based on like some kind of mutual agreement. But that
Right.
was not even the case,
Not
I
even
was
the case.
I was trying to work out a good deal still, and he was just done.
Wow, interesting. That's unfortunate.
So also, because I'm a nerd, I was
Mhm.
listening to some stuff about this, and of course I'm like, can I appeal it, and is it worth it? Probably not. It might be worth it just to go through the process and understand the courts, but especially for such a low ticket item. But this is interesting. I heard the other day, because like I said, I'm a nerd and I was kind of researching this. If you take a case all the way to federal court, especially if it's an indictment for something, indictments at the federal level have a 99% chance of judging in the court's favor. And at the state level, it's like a 56% chance in the state's favor. And, the lower you go, the higher chance you have of winning.
Mm.
And essentially, of course, this is not legal advice, but this is what I'm going to do. And the case that I can handle anything at the lowest level possible, I'm going to.
Yeah,
Because I have a way higher chance of winning.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting data.
Yeah, just statistically, the
Yeah,
higher you go, the less chance you have.
right.
So anyway, all that being said, I'm probably going to send a $20,000 check today to pay off a piece of land that's worth about $7,000.
Oh man.
Yeah. Had to tear the house down, and I had insurance on the place for like $40,000,
Yeah.
because that's what the cost of replacement was at the time. And when the people flooded the house and disconnected the gas line and almost blew it up,
Oh man.
the insurance company told me that I was the cost to replace all the things that they had damaged was only like $7,000. So I only got $7,000, which paid for the demolition. So
Sounds about right.
Gotta love insurance.
Gotta love insurance.
yeah, the lady came out and she's like, man, I'm really trying to help you. Like, I'm putting doorknobs on here and like light bulbs, and I'm trying to give you everything I can, but I just can't say, I'm like, lady, look at the freaking house. Like, nobody's going to live there.
Right.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It was, they flooded the place. They left the water on and disconnected the P-trap for 2 weeks in the middle of July in Oklahoma. And so there was black mold in every single room on every wall, because it was a literal lake inside the house. The main the main in the kitchen, the water was on for 2 weeks.
Gee.
So I had a big water bill that week,
Yeah, no kidding.
that month. Anyway, well, very good. As some of you saw, I had a flip that I put on the market. And this is definitely one of the things that I wanted to talk about with you guys, because next Wednesday I have a webinar that I'm doing for anybody to teach them how to find deals on Zillow. I've got 30-something people signed up, and these are people that have found me on Facebook and found the event. So I'm going to invite everybody in the community, but it's just my main strategy to find deals. And I might even do this here in the next couple minutes. the way that I'm able to find the deals online, because of the parameters that I use to find them, I have such a high strike rate when it comes to asking for owner finance or sub 2 because of the parameters that I put. And understanding which parameters to look for, especially if you're looking for creative finance deals, is so important, so you don't waste your time. I talk about how you scroll and you pick up patterns. When you're able to scroll and pick up those patterns so quick that 6 out of 10 of the people that you actually call say yes to a creative finance opportunity, that's going to be where you win the most. And as an example, I spent about 15 minutes looking online the other day for, I can even show you guys. I spent about 15 minutes online the other day looking for owner finance opportunity with a ranch property in Oklahoma, because I'm from Oklahoma and I care to buy land, and that's kind of what I want to have. I want to have a bunch of ranches around the United States.
Yeah.
So I'm going to walk you guys through how I found this deal really quick. And the reason this is particularly significant is because I called on it knowing that it was a good opportunity for creative finance. Can you guys see the screen here?
Yeah.
I called on it knowing it was a good opportunity for creative finance, and it turned out to be better than I thought, which is mostly the case.
Interesting.
Okay, so here's Tulsa. If it'll load.
Look at those prices. Dang.
Oh, dude, you're gonna be blown away.
156 for 1.1. Dang.
There's some incredible houses here. I actually don't know how they build. I don't know how they build for this price.
Yeah. I don't know how they build it for the price that they do in Boise.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on. Zillow is pretty slow sometimes. Okay. Tulsa, Oklahoma. There we go. Okay, so I was searching for, of course, acreage. So I wanted something over 20 acres. And I was kind of looking at everything, but for here, we can put a house because I want a house, right? So I'm not going to put home type. I'm going to put only houses. Apply that. I'm going to remove boundary here. So I was looking at properties, and I came and found this one right here. It's actually a pretty good picture. Okay, so I'm looking through the photos. I'm like, this is nice, super cute. It's got a shop, house, has a horse barn. There's the acreage there. It's got a couple ponds, which is pretty cool. Okay, good. And then here's the important part, right? I'm coming down and I'm looking. This is great. I like this. I like this. I like this. And if it'll load again. Well, without waiting for it for too long, I get to the house pictures and it's vacant.
okay.
Right? Not only is it vacant, but it's kind of dirty, just a little bit dirty. Like you can tell the carpet's kind of dirty and that sort of thing. Another thing is I look here and it says 144 days on Zillow.
Okay.
Which is interesting. I don't know prices in this area, but I would assume it's high, obviously, because it's been on the market for 144 days and they've had zero price drops.
Okay.
Okay, so those are the things that I talk about, right? Like, it's vacant. It's been on the market for a long time. No price drops. What does this tell me? Especially about a farm. When I'm looking at a farm like this.
Well, yeah, that means they have the ability to hold it.
Right?
Right? No price drops.
They're probably, because
Clearly
it's a
don't
ranch.
live there.
No, nobody lives there. Because it's a ranch, it's probably not an investment, right?
Right.
I mean, it's a little bit of it is a bigger ranch, but it's not like the kind of ranch that Bruce Willis would buy. You know what I mean? As an investment. So you're going down the right path there, Phil. They have the ability to hold it. I don't know why they have the ability to hold it, but as I'm looking through the photos and I see the property, like it's obviously well taken care of. It also, to me, like, because it's old and outdated and there's a little pool, like I'm just kind of confused about some of the things, but it doesn't really matter because all I know is that it's been on the market forever, it's vacant, and the price is too high, and they have had 0 price drops. So a couple things. They can afford to hold it, but they might have debt enough that 1.75 million for this property wipes that debt out. Or, right, like there's a lot of people who they just will not pay to sell a property. They'll hold it and lose money that way versus sell it and lose money up front. Or they own it outright. Right. Or they have some really, really tiny mortgage that's extremely cheap. So I called and I said the same exact script that I say every single time. Hi, let's see what her name is. Hi, Tasha. My name's Carter with Aspire Realty up here in Idaho. I was calling about your listing there on 121st and Broken Arrow. Can we talk about that for a second? Sure. Yeah. What'd you have? Hey, I'm curious. And this is exactly what I said. I said, I don't know prices in that area, but I'm curious. It looks like it's priced fine. And the house and the property looks great. Why hasn't it sold yet? Same question every single time. I did add a few little variables, like I don't know the prices in that area, so it might be high. I didn't say that it was high. You know, I was insinuating that it might be high, but mostly I made sure that she still had the authority by saying, I don't know prices in that area, right? I left everything on her plate and said, tell me why it hasn't sold. And she went for 10 minutes and told me, oh my gosh, this property is great. This is why. 3 siblings own it. Dad passed away. He left them enough money to just run the ranch for as long as they want. Blah, 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 blah. And she gave me everything, all up front. And what it came down to is I said, man, and she said that they've had some cash offers, in the like 1.3, 1.4 range, but they're just not willing to go down on price. And like we talked about a couple calls ago, if someone wants their price and they're willing to be patient, that's perfect for owner finance.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'm curious. I'm wondering if you guys have thought about, and the way that she was talking about it, and she had authority and she was excited to share all this stuff, right? Instead of me asking, well, have you thought about owner finance? I stated it in a way, because if I say, have you thought about owner finance? That makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about, right? Because I'm like, have you thought about this other thing that I'm currently thinking about? The way I stated it was, well, I'm interested. I'm wondering if they've thought about creative finance. And instead of saying, I'm wondering if you guys have thought about, I preface it a little bit and say, that's kind of interesting, and I'm using a little bit of like, she's curious and kind of leaning in because I'm like, have you thought about, have they thought about creative finance? And she kind of popped off and she's like, oh, you know what? They've talked about it, and they wouldn't want to go for really long term, but they would definitely entertain owner finance. And then I did never split the difference, right? I said they wouldn't go for a very long time, ? I just repeated her statement. And she said, yeah, they really want something like 15 years is as long as they would go. And I was like, oh, only 15 years. That's too bad,
Yucks.
But, so I said, okay, well, that's interesting, and then I said, as we were talking about the house, it needs some updates, right? I said, okay, well, if someone were to live in here, they would want to update the house, just like you said, because she mentioned that up front. She was saying that that's one of the reasons why it probably hasn't sold, because the house needs some work. Okay, so I'm using information that she gave me, right? She told me that the house needed work. So I said, okay, you said that the house needed a little bit of work. For someone to put the work in, if I went to get a normal loan, I'd have to use all my money that I would use on renovation for a down payment. And I said, even if we did something creative, I would have to use that money as a down payment, and then I wouldn't have a renovation budget. But do you think your folks would be up for me using that budget to fix the house up instead? And she was like, oh yeah, they would love nothing more than a family to get in there and fix it up and a family live there. Oh, perfect. So I can use my down payment money to fix the house, and then at some point in the future, I can refinance them out. She was like, yeah, I think that would be a really great option. So that happened all in a 15-minute phone call.
That's
And
pretty awesome. And
not
15 years owner finance.
not only was it a 15-minute phone call, but it was 15 minutes looking, a 15-minute phone call, and that was the very first call I made. So that's the stuff that I'm gonna be going over in the webinar. I just wanted to show you guys that, and
Yeah.
again, talk about this, like the power of, it doesn't have to be Zillow, it can be truly a realtor.com, whatever, but
I got to run, guys. We'll
see
see
you guys. These houses on the market are really where we need to find the deals. Because you can come across
Would that be
something like this.
something like what would your is that something you really consider buying or
Me?
assigning?
Absolutely. So probably what I would do is, and if we can see this photo, let's see. So you see all these houses right here?
Yeah.
So there's 16 houses on 20 acres right here. So they're all about 1 acre pieces. This is 40 acres with one home on it. Because of this right here, and I know this is not a county line road and there's not a county line right here, so that it's all the same county. There's no issues right here having to deal with like this same kind of thing. You're very likely going to be able to use this as an entitlement play in the future, right? So if I can get this owner financed with maybe 50 grand out of my pocket to pay closing costs and pay the realtor, right? If I can get this owner finance and then I can sell it on a lease option, especially if I can owner finance it for 15 years. Let's say I get $2,000 a month payments. I can sell it on a lease option for 60 grand down for the lease that goes towards the principal payment. And then these guys have 10 years to exercise that option at whatever price. I can make money just sitting there. You know, they're paying maybe $500 a month, and I make 20 grand up front. Or in the case that they don't exercise that option in 5 to 10 years, I have an entitlement play. Or I can just lease it in general. You know, I can take the 40 grand hit up front and then I can lease it for a $500 a month cash flow or something like that and use it as an entitlement play over the years, because I know, because of this neighbor, that it's very likely that I could put 16 homes on this 20 acres and 16 homes on this 20 acres. It's a longer play, which I don't like, but I also know that it's pretty likely, especially with such a low down payment, it's pretty likely that I could find somebody who's willing to give me 50 grand and wait for 5 years to get 250 back, you know, because of an entitlement play. So
I'm wondering if you could even get it and then, you know, sell it to a developer, the whole thing, and they would just tear everything down and build a whole new community in there.
well, I could do that 100%, especially with the owner finance terms, you know.
Yeah.
The hard part about owner finance, and I'll say this and then we can get off, but the hard thing about owner finance on properties that you're trying to do entitlement on is a lot of times you have to convince them up front that that's a good move, because for the property to actually be able to be split, you have to get their sign off, basically, because their lien position is on one singular 40 acre parcel. It's not on 20, 2 acre parcels. So, because then you would have to record a lien position on each one and you'd have to divide the debt, and that's not what they signed up for.
Okay. Yeah.
So you would either do that or you would just get as far down the road as you can before you actually split the property. And then you would come up with a separate agreement at that time and renegotiate.
Yeah.
But no, this is a pretty fun one. Plus, I just like the fact that it's a nice 40 acre piece with a decent looking house. And
man, I would live there for sure. That's nice.
It is. So they got a little bit of a horse barn here. Now you can actually see the photos. This is pretty fun. They got a little horse barn there. You got a little shop. This is another reason why I'm like, okay, someone died. Like it's a kind of a half filled shop it's kind of messy. It looks like they were moving out.
Yeah.
Which
People
is
already removed whatever was worth something.
Yep. And then you get in the house and it's just outdated and just a tiny bit dirty.
Yeah,
I
but
could
when I
also-
see deals like this, like I'm just like, because like the amount of money scares me, because like even though you can get it on seller financing like 50K out of your own pocket, but anyway, if you have to hold it for a while and you have to pay that monthly payment on 1.7 million, that's some dollars every month, which I
Yeah.
probably don't have the finances for. So I'm not really looking at deals like that just because the number is so high.
Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, that's one of the things that I definitely want to impress on you guys is I've called on $7 million homes before. In fact, there's one in North Idaho right now that has, it's on Hayden Lake, Rick, and it's a $7.5 million listing. They have a $4 million loan at like 2.3% that they were willing to give up if someone came with the other 3 million.
Mm.
So there's creative finance opportunities everywhere. And this lady's willing to sub to a $4 million loan. I got her down after some negotiations because I've been talking with her and following up for like a year and a half now because they've been trying to sell this property for a long time. I've got her down. The last conversation I had is they needed $1.5 million down, and they were going to owner finance the rest for like 4 or 5 years. I can't remember, but they were going to sub to the $4 million loan, take $1.5 million down, and then owner finance the rest of their equity. No, I don't have the money to do something like that, and I don't have it. I don't really need an $8 million property on the lake. But deals are out there, and you can work them. So for this one, for instance, my mom's actually going to look at it today. If it works out, I'm going to offer, hey, I'm gonna pay the agent, which is going to be 30 something grand. 40, actually, that's probably going to be like 50 grand. I'm going to pay their agent. And then once I pay their agent, I'm going to pay closing costs. Once I pay closing costs, that's it. And I'm going to say I need no payments for 2 years because I need to use money for fixing up the house. And if they give me 2 years of no payments, that's going to allow me to either have a house that's paid off essentially for 2 years and have cash flowing rental, because the house really doesn't need anything. If I wanted to put someone in there for $2,000 a month, then I could recapture my initial investment in that 2 years, and I'd be $0 in. And then at that point, that's when it picks up, $2,000 a month payments or whatever. And so there's 100 different ways you can do this, but that's probably what I'm looking at doing is coming up with some kind of deal where I don't have a huge amount down. I'm only paying realtor fees and closing costs, so that way they have zero money out of pocket. And then I pick up payments after a couple years, and I could even do something if I wanted to. They hayed this property, so there is a crop on this property that you can sell. So I could even come up with something and say like, hey, each year, whenever we harvest all the hay, I'll split profits with you 50-50, or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's,
or just like you could lease some of their land to like a farmer who wants the hay.
Totally could do that.
Whatever neighbor somewhere.
Yep. Well, yeah, there's these neighbors right here, but all the ground around it, every other direction is just fields. So,
man, nice.
Anyway, that one's pretty cool. Let's see here. Yeah, so see, it's just fields. So, pretty fun. Just right outside of town here.
Yeah, it looked like it's just grass, everything around it. So
yeah. But that's what I had for this week. Thank you guys for showing up. Sorry that you had to run around a little bit there, Rick.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure that you knew about it, so that if there was other people that you just invited that weren't making it. So
yeah, I think I just fixed, while we were on the call a little bit earlier and you guys were chatting, I think I fixed the issue there on my back end. So it should be the correct link in the email now.
Like I said, if I hadn't signed up, otherwise I probably wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
Hardy,
What's up,
did you
Christian?
create some kind of flyer or something for the business that you wanted to sell? If I want to share it.
I didn't create a flyer, but in school, you can still see my screen here.
Yep.
In school here, under business deals and this post, Christian, you asked me, can I create a flyer? And I have this video right here.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't see that yet. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
So if you click on that video, you can see everything and then you can share it. And I put also down here, the password is FSBO. The website for that business is locked currently, and capital
Yeah.
FSBO for sale by owner is how you get into that website.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
cool. Sweet. All right, guys. Well,
Awesome.
thanks for coming. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.